All right, I need you guys to do me a favor. If there's ever days that you really want to put in your best effort, it's these days. The days that you're just about to take a practice test. I'm sorry, that you're just about to take a real test, and you want to just get a little bit stronger right before your test. I am going to reteach you everything that I taught you in the last, 4 or 5 weeks in 1 or 2 days. So it's really important that if you're going to give a lot of effort, this is your day. You're going to give a lot of effort. Okay? I mean, ideally, every day you're giving it. But if there's really a day to focus, it's today. Now, with that being said, I would really, really appreciate your effort in these challenge questions. So if by chance you did not complete these challenge questions yet, before you continue with the video, please go back and try your best on the challenge questions. Even if you do not understand them, by trying them first and failing, it opens up your brain and your mind so that when I explain the answers, it makes more sense to you than you not trying it and just trying to watch me and make sense out of it for the first time. So once you're finished, let's continue. Now, I stole these questions right from your practice test. So your practice test number 1 is A, 5,436 divided by 6. So watch how I get the right answer. First thing you do is the first number you see and say in a division problem goes inside the house. So 5,436 goes in the house, and the outside of the house is 6. How many 6s go into 54? 9. You could just counting by 6. 6 times 10 is 60. So 6 times 9 is 54, which is perfect. That means there's nothing left over. Remember, the only steps in division are pull out groups, state what's left over, bring down the next number, pull out groups. I can't take any groups of 6 from 3. I bet you there's a couple people in this class that forgot to put a 0 right here. Yeah, we couldn't take anything from 3. So before we can bring down the 6 to help out, we have to put that there were no groups in the 3. How many 6s are in 36? 6. What's left over? Nada. So your answer is 906. Okay? Before we move on to B in your challenge questions, pause the video and try your best to complete number 2. Okay, let's see what the real answer is. 97 divided by 14. Now, there's a couple ways to do this one. You could throw it in the house, or you can just look at it like an improper fraction. If you look like it, you're doing the same thing. You're seeing how many 14s are in 97. So no matter which you chose to do, you're seeing how many 14s are in 97. We know from our multiple choice that the answer is 6 or 7. So let's try 6. So what is 14 times 6? 6 times 4 is 24. 6, 7, 8. 84. Oh, let's see what's left over. If there's more than 14 left over, we know that we're supposed to put a 7 up here. If there's not more than 14, then it's just a remainder. 7 minus 4 is 3. 9 minus 8 is 1. Perfect. There's only 13 left. So the answer is 6 and 13 left over out of 14. So 6 and 13 14ths. B. We will save C for the live portion. We'll save number 3 for the live portion. Let's go on to the next section. Word problems. We love word problems, don't we? It says interpret the remainder in the appropriate way. So this was one of the challenge questions on your challenge questions. If I went to the store to buy eggs, and they only sold the eggs in dozens, how many dozens would I have to buy to get 45 eggs? So 45 divided by 12, because 12 is a dozen. Well, 12, 24, 36, 48. Can't take 48. So we could take away 3. 3 is 36. There's 9 left over. So it takes 3 and 9/12 dozens. Now, that's not an option because you cannot ask the store to only give you 9/12 or 3/4 of a dozen. So instead, you got to buy another dozen. So that answer was 4. 4 dozen. Try number 5. See if you can get this answer on your own, and then unpause it to see what the real answer is. Okay, number 5. Julia had $46. She wanted to buy as many posters as possible. Each poster costs $5. How many posters can she buy? Well, I have 46, and I want to see how many 5s that is, right? 5 does not go into 4, but it goes into 46. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So I bought 9. It cost me $45. They gave me $1 back. My remainder is $1. Can I buy 1/5 of a poster? No, I can't buy 1/5 of a poster. So I can buy 9 posters and I still have $1 back in my pocket. So that answer is 9. We will save 6 for the live session. Let's go to number 7. Okay, so still having some people, I think, struggling with these types of questions. Now, let me just explain something real quick. When you have any kind of decimal, whenever it gets multiplied by 10, the number gets 10 times bigger. And what happens is, like 1.2 times 10 is 12. If I add 10 of these together, the answer is 12. Now, whenever you have a little tiny number up here, that's how many times you're multiplying it by 10. So if it was 1.2 times 10 to the 3rd power, it's going to move over once, twice, 3 times, adding 2 zeros. That answer would be 1,200. Now that's scientific notation. But if by chance you are dividing, then it changes and goes the opposite. So when it's division, it goes the opposite direction. So if by chance it was 1.2, well, it is here. Look at the bottom one. 1.2 divided by 10 to the 3rd power. Instead of it getting bigger, you move the decimal to get it smaller. Once, twice, 3 times. And when you move over 3 times, there was nothing to jump over here, so that's when you're forced to add your 0. So let's go over the answers real quick. We have 1 time moving over, so that's 0.12. And you could say, but Mr. Stahl, look at, there's a 0 there and there's not a 0 here. Well, the 0 doesn't mean anything. It's just saying there's no holes. So you can use it or you don't need to. So these are our 2 options so far, which gets rid of those 2. And then if it goes over 2 times, it moves over once. Now it's forced to add a 0 to show, hey, I went over twice. So 0.0, so that eliminates this one. And then the 3rd time it would produce yet another 0. 1, 2, 3, 2 zeros. So A is your answer there. So try number 8. See if you understand how to divide with powers of 10. Now the only difference with 7 and 8 is the fact that 9 does not have a decimal. So when it's a whole number, it does have a decimal. It's just invisible. Because remember, a decimal's job is to say, hey, the whole number is now finished. Well, if there's no numbers after that, there's no decimal numbers, then there's no point in putting the decimal. But if there's no decimal there, it's always understood that there's an invisible decimal after the number. So if it gets divided by 10, it gets 10 times smaller, it's 0.9. So that gets rid of this one, that gets rid of this one, that gets rid of this one. Therefore, we know, once again, this is your answer. Turns into 0.09 and 0.009. Okay, so now looking at, what was it, I believe C? Yeah, C. 2 and 8800ths divided by 16 hundredths. This is where we have to really understand how to work with decimals. 2.88 is the first number we say, so it is the dividend. It's the number we're going to end up dividing. That has a decimal. The decimals inside the house are fine. Then this number over here has a decimal, but it's in the divisor, and you're not allowed to have a decimal out there because we can't count by 16 hundredths. So you need to get rid of it by pushing it right, turning 16 hundredths into 16. Now the answer right here will be correct as long as whatever you did to this side of the problem, you also do to this side of the problem. So since we push the decimal over twice here, you have to also push the decimal over twice here. So now we can find the real problem, the real answer down here. How many 16s go into 28? 1. What's left over? 12. Bring down the next number. Ooh, now we got a harder problem. 10 times 16 is 160. 16 times 5 is 80. I'm guessing 7. I'm gonna guess 7, and then I look over here, and what do I see? All of them are 1/8. So I know 7 is going to be wrong, but let's pretend I did not. I'm going to go 16 times 7. I go 42. And remember, you're always allowed to use lattice method instead. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's 112. 112 is too small because 112, you could take out another 16, right? If I put 112 here and I subtract, I'm going to get another 16. I'll just show you. 1, 1, 2. I subtract. Oh my gosh, that means I could have taken a whole nother group out. So instead of it being 7, it should have been 8. There's no decimals involved, so your answer there is 18. Try number 11 on your own. See how you do. First number you say goes inside the house. Second number you say goes on the outside of the house. You are not allowed to have that decimal there. So therefore you kick it over once, and that makes this kick over once too. Turns them both into whole numbers. That does not always happen, but if it does, that's fine and dandy. How many 4s go into 10? 2. What's left over? 2. Bring down the 8. How many 4s go into 28? Well, I know 5 times 4 is 20. So 6 times 4 is 24. 7 times 4 is 28. Perfect. Works out grand. We'll do 12 during our live session. Let's go to 13. Number 13 states, and this is your other challenge question, a lion cub weighs 1 32 hundredths pounds, a newborn kitten weighs 24 hundredths pounds. The weight of the cub is how many times as much as the kitten? So basically the question is, the kitten equals blank times the lion. Let's make sure this makes sense. The weight of the lion is how many times as much as the weight of the kitten. So should it be kitten equals blank times lion? Well, the lion weighs more. The weight of the lion cub is how many times as much the weight of the kitten. So no, it should go the lion equals blank times the kitten. the way that they word these always confuse me a little bit. So we need to figure out what this is. So now the way I like to figure these out is I will just pretend the lion weighs 10, the kitten weighs 5. If that's the case, then what's my box? 2. And you could say, Mr. Stahl, why in the world does that help you out? Well, I'll show you why. The lion is not a beautiful number. It's 1.32. The kitten is not a beautiful number. It's 0.24. So looking at these disgusting numbers, it's very difficult to figure out how to find the real answer. But looking at these beautiful, small, easy numbers, it's easy to see how I find the answer. I'm missing the 2. Okay, I know it's 2 because I know 5 times 2 is 10. But since I'm missing it, I got to figure out how do I go from a 10 to a 5 to a 2? Oh, I take this, I divide this, and that will give me this. So I do the same thing with my hard numbers. 1.32 divided by 0.24. Now I got another issue. I got them decimals. I'm not allowed to have decimals on the outside, that is. So I get rid of it. I push over once, twice, but I have to do the same thing here. Once again, we got lucky. It turns into a whole number and a whole number. So I'm going to rewrite that. 24, 132. 24, 132. So 24 does not go into 13, but it does go into 132. So I have to figure out how many times. Well, once again, I could look at my numbers. I know it's going to be 55 because of the options I have, but let's pretend I don't. 24 times 10 is 240. Oh, that's too big. 24 times 5 is half of 240, which is 120. That sounds good. So I put a 5 here. I put 120 here. I want to make sure it was right by seeing what's left over. Oh yeah, what's left over is smaller than what I need to make groups of. So now what do I do? Well, we can add a 0.00, or we could just say we have 5 and 12/24. What is 5 and 12/24? Oh, that's 5.5. What is 5.5? Which one of these is 5.5? This one's 5.5 because it's 5.5. 5.5 is 5 and 5/10. 5 and 5/10 is 5.5. So these are a little more tricky, right? There's a little more to them. Let's try one more, and then I will see you at 10:30. At a sports store, 3 times more football sold than volleyballs. There's a total of 3,252 footballs sold. How many volleyballs are sold? Try it out. All right, I'm going to use that same trick I just taught you. I know. So which one's more? Footballs are more, right? Footballs are more. So footballs equal volleyballs times 3. Does that make sense? There's 3 times more footballs sold than volleyballs. Yes, that totally makes sense. So I need to figure out how many volleyballs are sold. Well, I know the real number is there's 3,252 footballs. I don't know this, but I know it needs to get multiplied by 3. So if I'm very, very confused, let's turn it into an easy number. Let's pretend there's only 30 footballs. And I know it's times 3. What would the volleyball be? It would be 10, because 10 times 3 is 30. So how can I go from 30 to 3 to 10? Divide. So I'm going to do the same thing. If it's 30 divided by 3 gives me my answer, then it's 3,252 divided by 3. That will get me my answer for volleyballs. How many 3's going to 3? 1. What's left over? Nada. Bring down the 2. How many 3's going to 2? Ooh, none. So do I bring down the 5? Not until I put nothing came out of the 2. Now I can bring down the 5. How many 3's are in 25? Well, let's see. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. 8 would be 24. There's one left over. How many 3s are in 12? 4. So my answer is 1,084 volleyballs. All right. I will see you all at 10:30.